You know, if there's ever a voice of reason that can talk me off the ledge, it's Congressman Guy Reschenthaler. Hey, Guy, welcome back. Good to have your voice here, sir, in these times of just absolute craziness. Hello.
Well, Wendy, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Wow, I'm really, really disappointed right now in what I think has been this past weekend. You had this bipartisan. Remember how that looks, ladies and gentlemen, where the people elected to serve us actually work together to do that, and they were actually making good progress, Guy. And then all of a sudden, tell me what you know.
Well, let me just say I'm really disappointed. The House should be back in D.C. right now passing this Phase 3 bill for the American people. But instead, last night, Senate Democrats tanked Phase 3. And if I can just explain what is in Phase 3,
Please.
It'll just outrage you that they said no to this bill.
Go for it.
Okay, so for one, for individuals get $1,200 per person. And if you have a child, it's $500 for each child. And that phases out once you go higher than $75,000 and eventually phases out at about $150,000 per married couple. But it would give relief immediately to people that need it. Also, you don't have any payroll taxes. That helps the employee and that helps the employer as well. And it changes the requirements on retirement accounts. So if you're in a position where you need to withdraw money from your IRA, let's say,
right,
you don't have the 10% penalty. Also, when it comes to unemployment, there's an extra $600 added for unemployment compensation, and unemployment is opened up to those that are self-employed, to those that are in what's called the gig economy. So your Uber driver can go in and get unemployment right away. We also have tons for small business. Small business, if you're under 500 employees, so I'd say small and medium-sized businesses, if they do not let their employees go, then they will possibly get reimbursed. Well, they will get reimbursed. They'll have their loans forgiven if they do not lay off their employees. And then we also infuse liquidity into the market so you can still have investment. You can still have investment, and we get relief to critical industries such as the airlines industry as well. So this, from an economic point of view, this is really good for individuals, and it's really good for small businesses and critical industries that are having a hard time.
All right, so when we talk about that measure that you're speaking of, what were any extras in there that were unnecessary? Or was this a totally lean package? Was this solely focused on what you're talking about?
Well, just like in Phase 1 and Phase 2, there are elements of this bill that I do not like. But I'm one person out of an entire Congress, and so you're not going to get 100% of what you want. But if I can get half a loaf, I'm going to take half a loaf instead of no loaf of bread. And there's things in here that are good that Democrats would like and Republicans, just like that Phase 2 and 1 that was passed.
Right.
The only difference here is that this was drafted by Mitch McConnell and not Nancy Pelosi. So Democrats in the Senate would rather see a good bill die than a Republican get a win. And that's what's really startling.
Do you really believe that? Yeah. Honest to goodness, you've been there long enough, Guy. Do you really believe that?
I do. I
do
really
too.
do. And just look at it like this, Wendy. We passed Phase 2 of this bill, which was drafted by Nancy Pelosi, and there were a lot of Republicans that had problems with it. But we were told it's okay, vote for this, because it does get help to people, and it does, and I still stand behind that vote. But vote for this, and we'll let Mitch McConnell draft the next one. Huh. Well, now Mitch McConnell drafted the next one. So where's the bipartisanship now? Because Republicans were bipartisan when Nancy Pelosi was drafting the bill.
Wait, go back. So they said to you, hey, guys, I know there's some things about this that are unsavory to you. Do us a favor, get together, let's make this happen. And Phase 3, since Mitch McConnell is going to be doing this, a Republican will return the favor and we'll get this one passed expeditiously as well.
That's exactly what happened. And if I can just take a dig at the mainstream media, when Nancy Pelosi drafted that bill, Phase 2, a lot of us voted for it, even though there were parts of that bill we didn't like. And the mainstream media went around talking about how this is an achievement, how Nancy Pelosi had a big win, et cetera. And rightfully so. American people needed that help. Now that it's Phase 3, now we're the ones that are allegedly causing this gridlock when it's not true. It's Chuck Schumer. It's Nancy Pelosi who's threatening to draft her own bill now in the House, which is completely against what she agreed to before. So, but look, Wendy, I don't want to play politics here. if people can call Senator Casey and tell him to get this passed, if you can call your congressman, obviously you don't need to call me. If I'm your congressman, I'm already for this. But if you could call other congressmen and say, get this bill done, get this help to the American people who need it, make sure those that are living paycheck to paycheck get money and can get through this crisis.
So Pelosi then and her people create, and you have to wonder, how long has that been in the works, right? That they're going to have a bill of their own that they're just going to spring on everybody. That's almost 1,200 pages, Guy.
Well, the bill of their own, not only is this reneging on negotiation promises that were made before, it adds a whole week to this process. When a bill passes the House, it then has to go to the Senate. We have a bill in the Senate right now. The Senate can pass that bill, and I can be on a plane or in the car and get to D.C. tomorrow, get this passed, and get it on President Trump's desk by probably Wednesday, right? And we can get help to people right away. If Nancy Pelosi now wants to draft a bill, we're looking at next week to get something on the president's desk. That's unacceptable. If you're a waitress that's been laid off, if you're a construction worker and your site's been if your site's been shut down, you don't have the luxury to wait for a perfect bill that's produced in Washington. You need your congressman, you need your senator pass this bill and get help to people right now.
Meanwhile, the things that she wants are just absolutely, I mean, it's breathtaking to me, Guy. And we had talked about this earlier in the day. Some of the provisions for the Green New Deal. What? How about bargaining powers, unprecedented bargaining powers for unions and bailing out the post office? How does that help the average worker right now who can't pay their rent?
That's what's so infuriating, is that they're holding this bill up not on the merits of what's on the bill, but for what's not in the bill. And it would be one thing if they wanted to add elements to the bill that are pertinent to the coronavirus. These provisions have nothing to do with this pandemic, nothing. They want to increase funding for the Postal Service. And look, I like the post office. I got nothing against it. But they want to increase funding so they can do 100% remote voting, where you just mail in your ballot and vote. Again, it has nothing to do with that. Most states have already delayed their primary if they have a primary. And also, we don't have our general election until November. This is way premature. They also want to change fuel efficiency standards of the airline industry. Think about it. You have an airline industry that is on the verge of being crippled right now, that needs this funding.
Right.
And instead of getting them the funds they need, they want to increase the fuel efficiency standards to make them less profitable. You cannot make this up. It doesn't even make rational sense. They also want to have cap and trade, which would further hurt our economy. You don't even get me started about the fracking revolution we've had in Western Pennsylvania.
Oh my gosh!
And they want to throw that out the window,
right? Because
of the corona pandemic. They want to. It is. I am livid, Wendy.
You know what?
The mainstream media is not saying anything. The mainstream media is not painting them as obstructionists.